Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar on the iShop e-commerce solution for SyteLine. My name is Mark Feldhammer. I'm the president of Logic Data, and I'll be your host for today. Thanks for coming. If you have questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box, and we'll monitor that for your questions as they come up. And with that said, I'm going to take you through a series of PowerPoints that will explain this product and how it can help you. And I will do a brief demonstration of the product itself as well. So that said, let's carry forward. Just by way of orientation, for those of you who don't know Logic Data has been a Infor SyteLine partner for over 30 years. And we're very deeply versed in the SyteLine product, which has definitely helped us write a great integration between SyteLine and iShop for e-commerce. We're very experienced in implementations, small and large, multi-site, multi-currency, multi-language. The product we're talking about today is an e-commerce storefront called iShop. Unique thing about iShop, twofold really. One is that it is fully integrated to SyteLine. It's the only web storefront that is fully integrated to SyteLine and only works with SyteLine. The other unique thing is this isn't only a business-to-consumer storefront, but as you'll see as we walk through this is a business-to-business storefront, and there are some unique requirements. So many of us in the SyteLine world sell to other businesses, other manufacturers. It brings to bear a unique set of requirements that need to be addressed. Before I go into the product itself, I thought I'd give you all some ammunition, some statistics. Why should you have a storefront? What do you need to consider when you have a storefront? Some nice things to know. E-commerce sales in the United States have been increasing about 10% a year, sometimes 15% on the retail side. So retail being consumers going to Amazon, going to eBay, other sites of that nature. But what most people don't know is what is the business-to-business e-commerce statistics? And it's nearly 3 times the amount of consumer purchasing that happens on the internet is done by businesses buying from other business. It's a huge market, and it's a somewhat ignored market when it comes to storefronts and e-commerce websites. Why the big difference? Well, when a consumer comes to a storefront, they purchase an average of $147 worth of product in a visit. However, when a business comes to a business storefront, their purchase is 3 times as much. They purchase on average $491. So the effort to put a storefront up can pay off in spades if you're doing B2B transactions. They're much higher volume. Good statistic to take to your management and let them know this is a good reason why we should do this. Another thing that's very important for any storefront, and ours supports this, is search engine optimization. You're going to find that on average, a specific buyer will search 12 sites or do 12 different searches, I should say, not search 12 sites. He will do 12 different searches before he lands on a particular product or brand and then goes to that site. So here again, you have to come up in the search engine. They have to be able to find you in order for them to find and decide upon your product. In the B2B world, 70% of those buyers who land on your website actually have a group behind them that they require to get approvals from. So there's a committee, if you will, making the decision about buying your product. This means they have to be able to find the information, perhaps download PDFs, get spec sheets, look at specifications about your product to make sure that they have enough to bring to the committee, because the committee is not going to see your website. They're going to only see what that individual represents. Only 12% of the buyers out there will go directly to a brand website. So if they know who you are already, they may come and visit you. But if they don't know that, they have to find you. So they're going to start on Google or Yahoo or Bing, and they're going to look for you. And you need to come up quickly. We think that placing ads on the websites, placing ads on Google is going to help us. Well, the interesting statistic is 70% of the users out there ignore the paid ads. They look past that at the detail of what the search engine brings up beyond just the paid advertisements. So again, SEO is everything. Here again, 75% of the people who do a search never scroll past the first page. So you need to be coming up on page one. They need to find you there. If they don't see you there, they're not going to see you. And then where the rubber hits the road regarding e-commerce and our product and iShop and SyteLine, 40% of the business-to-business buyers out there want to know that the web store they're looking at is integrated with your back-end ERP system. Why? What's in it for them? Well, they can shop with confidence. They can see that you have what they want, that you can ship it on time, that the inventory levels are actually adequate to fulfill that order. They can get their price, their specific price, as opposed to a generic price. They can see if they owe you money if you have an account with that customer. And they can look at their order statuses and see when their orders are coming in. Important data that helps them find out quickly without having to send an email or pick up a phone and talk to a person. They can find this out. They want to find this out on your website. And of course, from your side of things, this gives you visibility real time of people placing orders. It lets you fulfill those orders faster. We don't have to wait for a CSR to get on the phone and take that order with that person. It lets you capture real-time data for marketing. Who's coming to your site? Where are they coming from? And so forth. So it's both strong for the customer as it is strong for you. So how do we do this? So of course, the subject for today is Logic Data's iShop e-commerce storefront. As I mentioned, this is the only product out there that's fully integrated to SyteLine, and it only works for SyteLine. It was written specifically for SyteLine. The integration points that you can see up on top here, this is just a partial list of the integration points. It took a lot of time to develop these properly. It is a full web development environment, so you can brand it and make it look like however you wish it to look. It has full catalog management included in the software. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look at these diagrams here, these are different templates that we provide for you to publish your catalog and show your product to your customers. This in the upper corner is a category template. So if you have different categories of product, you can display those in categories. And within a category, you can get down into details, into grid views or photographic views of your product, and even publish specifications. Very easy to add products to your website, to set their photographs, their specification sheets, diagrams, etc. You can also use iShop as your corporate site. So you can brand the whole site to look like your corporation. You can have pages on there for investors, for support, for communication to customers, and so forth. So I mentioned there's business to business and business to consumer. On the consumer side, this is kind of what we've all come to expect from a storefront. A person can log on, they can browse the public catalog, and then they can create their own account. And once they create an account on the iShop side, we create the customer record within CloudSuite Industrial SyteLine. But you can see here there's really two choices. They can create a consumer account where they get retail pricing, public catalog, credit card processing, or if they are an existing customer with you with a relationship, they can request a business account, which would then tie their iShop login to the existing customer login in SyteLine and give them their pricing, their terms, their information. On the consumer side, when a consumer logs in, they only have the option to purchase with a credit card. We'll discuss a little bit more about this as we go through, but they would not be allowed to purchase on account. They're a consumer, we don't know who they are basically, and we're basically saying, we'll sell it to you, but only if you pay us now with a credit card. We have other consumer features that also work for business to business, such as complex shipping algorithms. We can ship based on cube, weight, size of boxes. We can do real-time calls to UPS to FedEx for pricing of that shipment and present to the customer different options for shipment. You know, you want it ground, you want it next day, you want it 2-day air. You also can set up free shipping. You can set up free shipping based on a dollar value. If they order over $100, you'll ship for free. You can set up shipping as a percentage of the value of the customer's order or as a fixed fee. This item ships for $5.95 handling. The public customer, the consumer, only sees what we refer to as your public catalog. I've got mine branded as a retail store, but you can label this whatever you'd like. Whereas if a business-to-business user logs in, he or she may see a whole nother catalog in the system of things that you only sell to that type of customer. And this can be by role. You may have catalogs or items or specific things within your environment that are visible to distributors, but other items that are visible perhaps to a government buyer or an education buyer or a retail buyer that you categorize. For that buyer, when they're a consumer, they only see your retail pricing. Now, your retail pricing is actually stored in CloudSuite Industrial. So this can be quantity price breaks, this can be discount percentages, all that stuff that you normally would do in SyteLine. That's going to push out here to the storefront and be visible to the customer. So the price that the customer gets here is the same price that they would get if they pick up the phone and call the CSR. We also interface fully with SyteLine's tax calculations or Avalara's AvaTax. So for calculating tax on a particular order, you can be sure it's going to be the same calculation as you would have gotten within the SyteLine user interface. And of course, this business to consumer customer is only able to buy with a credit card. We also have added for consumers the ability to use discount codes and promo codes. Now, CSI has some discount promo built into it, but it wasn't enough for the consumer world. So we've extended the discounting and coupon codes extensively in iShop. You can do things like if you buy 3 of this product, you get 10% off of a different product. Or if you buy 5 of these, you get 1 free. Or if you buy this, you get free shipping or a discount on shipping. With the coupon, you can sit there and create a discount scheme and then say, I want this scheme used only for coupons. You see that in the last column here as a coupon required. And then you can generate coupon codes. They can be one-time only codes. They can be wide open. Everybody can get the same coupon number and use it as many times as they want. It could be a coupon specific to a customer. And from the consumer side, people love to see reviews and post reviews. So we have the ability for them to do that. A review once entered has to actually be approved by you in the back office. It doesn't automatically appear on your site. There is a workflow behind that, but then the consumer can see the different reviews for your products. We also allow the consumer to compare products. Up to 4 products can be compared on the page. You decide what information you want to show for each of the comparisons. So that's business to consumer. And then we have some special requirements that come into play for business to business. Business to business would be defined as someone that you do business with. They have an account within CSI. They may have special pricing. They may have special terms codes, so they could buy on account on a purchase order without a credit card. So some of these features here, you see here we've enabled, because this is a business to business person who's logged in, the ability for them to buy on a purchase order. They can put in their purchase order number. They can even upload that document, or you can change this to say upload any document to associate with my customer order. So maybe they have a spec sheet or special instructions or color swatches or CAD drawings that they would like to upload and send back to the back office at your side. One of the unique requirements we found in the business-to-business world is your customer may have more than one buyer that needs access to your website. Well, it's not really good security for them to all share the same login. So your customer has the ability to add additional users to his or her account as the purchasing agent manager. And that person can then manage the other users and their security. He or she could make another user also an administrator. They could turn off their ability to place an order. Maybe they only want to browse the catalog, even build a shopping cart but not check out, or even turn off their ability to see the account and only place orders. Then the other thing we found with B2B is very often the buyer already knows the part numbers he wants to buy. We found buyers were very irritated having to browse through the catalog to find the item to add it to a shopping cart. So we added this rapid order entry where the customer can just go in here and put in a part number, a quantity, and a date, check availability, and add it to the cart. So rapidly they could put one after another into this without having to browse your catalog. And you'll notice on top here, they could use your part number or they could use their own part number. And what does that mean? Inside of CSI, you've got the ability to have a customer contract item wherein you can put the customer's part number referencing your part number. If you do that, if you maintain that, your customer will have access to those part numbers so they could click this button and put in their own part numbers instead of yours. Another feature we added is if you have reps in the field, salespeople going to visit customers and taking orders, rather than having the rep fax the order or email the order to the back office, they could log on to iShop, log on as that customer, using the rep's name. They don't have to know the customer's login, but they can log in as that customer, and then place the order within iShop for the customer, getting the discounts and the availability and all the other features. Much simpler for them to use the storefront than to train them on how to use SyteLine order entry. So if you do have that situation, this is very helpful. We also added these additional features that are supportive of business to business. You know that in Amazon, for example, I can see the individual items I've ordered and reorder those individual items. But in the B2B world, the customer may have placed an order for 20 line items and he needs to repeat all 20. So we allow them to actually find the prior order that they placed and repeat the order and then edit it in the shopping cart if they need to. Part of the feature of this is that they can put a future date on an order. If they know you have lead time and they're trying to place a big order for the summer, they can place it now with a due date of July 15th, something you generally can't do on a typical consumer site. They're going to ship that order as soon as you click OK. A couple of other things here is, I didn't put this bullet on here, but we also allow the customer to upload a list of items they want to order through a spreadsheet and upload that directly into the shopping cart. So they don't have, if they have 50 new items they want to buy, they can just upload those into the shopping cart, edit it as they need, and check out. So some of the back end here, I've mentioned credit card processing. This, of course, requires that you have the credit card module for CSI, but it is a fully secure environment. We do not store any credit card numbers locally. We have pointers to the credit cards on the gateway. The customer can store his credit card on the gateway. He can have multiple credit cards that he picks from during the checkout process. We also have integrated this into SyteLine. So as the credit card process occurs and the customer checks out, we pass the token to SyteLine so that when the actual invoice is printed and posted, we will capture the funds for the exact amount of the invoice at the time that runs through. And last year, in one of our newest releases, we announced our integration with Infor's CPQ, their configurator product. If you are using CPQ, and you have to have the proper CPQ license to allow for this, but we can then turn CPQ's abilities on within iShop. So if the customer picks a configurable item, they'll get your CPQ interface, they'll be able to select the configuration and check out and get pricing for the item that they configured. Some general things for general knowledge of full search engine optimization support top to bottom, full integration with Google Analytics. So Google Analytics gives you great tools for monitoring the activity on your website. It's a free tool. It'll tell you how many people have logged in daily, what your bounce rates are, what pages they visited, where they came from, what kind of device they were using. So that's all built in. Then there's full text search capabilities all the way down to the attribute level. So if the guy wants to find every 5-inch widget. He can put in 5 inches and it'll bring up everything in the system that's got a 5-inch associated with it. A point about the email templates I should mention here. So we do have built into iShop the ability for you to design HTML emails. So when the customer checks out, you can send them an order acknowledgement, or when it ships from SyteLine, you can send them a shipping acknowledgement through iShop. That's up to you. You may want to do that in CSI, in SyteLine, or you may want iShop to do it for you. Second to the last item on this list is worth discussion, order wish lists. Someone can come in, they can build a shopping cart and decide, you know what, I need to print this out and go get approvals. So they can move the cart into a wish list, hold the wish list, go get their approvals, come back, select the wish list, move it back into the shopping cart, edit it, and check out. And then if someone does shop and for some reason doesn't check out, you'll have visibility of abandoned carts that they've built, products that they've put together, who the customer was. And some of our customers will monitor this, find abandoned carts, pick up the phone, call that customer, treat them as a prospect, see if they can get the deal closed. Maybe they needed a better discount or they couldn't find the product they wanted. So it's a sales opportunity at the back end. For those of you who are technical, you should just be aware the whole product is written in HTML5. For those of you who are non-technical, what does that mean? It's called responsive design. It means that if you write the product on a computer screen to run full size, but then you decide you also want it to run on a tablet or a cell phone, iShop will automatically reorganize the screen for you so it will fit on the smaller devices. It's written in Microsoft ASP.NET. And then the cascading style sheets is important. All of us want our website to look unique. It's our brand. We want to use our colors, our pictures, our fonts, our lines, our layouts. Well, that's handled in iShop with what's called cascading style sheets. So you modify one style sheet and the whole site inherits the design. I'll show you a couple of our customer sites in a few minutes so you can see how different this can be site to site. We do support multi-languages. You have to do, of course, your own translations for your products, but you can set up different languages, English, Spanish, German, French, etc. It's probably worth commenting, a couple of our customers have used Google Translator and embedded it on the site, and the Google Translator will translate everything on the site for you, which is kind of a cool thing. We've also added the ability for customers to have views into your back-end ERP system. So virtually any data you'd like to publish from ERP that you'd like the customer to see, such as jobs on the floor, or RMAs, or service repair orders. This can be specific by customer. It is secure by customer, so the customer only sees their data. Part of this viewing environment is we let customers look at their invoices and accounts receivable, assuming they're a B2B customer. They can reprint invoices online, and they can pay invoices with a credit card if you choose to allow that option. I'll assume that some of you on the call here are multi-site environments. This is a quick view of how we support multi-site. Certainly on the far left, you see a single site. And then here in the middle, you can have multiple occurrences of iShop with different branding feeding a single site of SyteLine. Or if you have a multi-site backend, iShop will feed your centralized order entry site and supports the triggers that fire the line items of the order down to the associated sites that have to fill the order. So all that said, let's flip over and take a quick look at what iShop actually looks like. So I just flipped over to my web browser and I've got iShop running here. You'll see a couple of folks going down the road on bicycles. First thing I'll point out is this is a generic site that we wrote for demonstration purposes. This is one way it can look. However, if I go to some of our customers, you're going to see very different layouts. This is iShop, completely different layout and look and feel. Here's another customer. I want to point out is the branding can be completely different. Your sense of artistry, what you want your company to look like, can be totally laid out and still be iShop. That said, let's go back to my generic environment. So here's the catalog, if you will. I can go into the retail store, and this is one of the templates I mentioned, showing the different categories of products we have within the storefront. If I drill into this, I could have subcategories within the category. If I drill into the road bikes, we get a different template. This template can show me pictures of the bike, some brief description, average reviews. I can from here say I'd like to compare these two products and pick my comparison and see them side by side. Or I can drill into one of those products, in this case the FA10000 bicycle. This shows you another feature that you can do with iShop. You can have a schematic of a product with hot links. So this customer has come to the bicycle and said, well, really what I'm looking for is I need a new frame. So you can click on that, it'll take him to the page for the frame, and he can throw the frame into his shopping cart. Let's go back to that form. Some other things that you can do here is, of course, lots of information about the product. In this example, I'm using a tabbed view. Some people prefer to have this all scrolled down the page. I personally like tabs, so I can have a tab for overview or tabs for specs. Here's the customer reviews on the product. We support accessories, so if you buy this product, maybe you need to also get a padded seat for it. Or cross-sell. If you're interested in this product, here's some other similar products you may want to look at. Then there may be different versions of this product. In this case, I have different colors and different sizes for this same bicycle. So the customer, of course, can add one of those to their cart. So I can build my shopping cart, and this is the shopping cart you see here. Here's the items that we've placed in the cart. Here's my total dollars for that cart. We haven't selected shipping yet. So if I want to continue to check out at this point, I need to log in. Now we do support anonymous login. I don't have it turned on in this release that I'm showing you here, but you can have guest checkout as well. I'm going to log in as a business-to-business customer. So Joe at Coordinated Bikes, and before I hit the login, notice my menu. I've got my retail store, my featured products, and customer support. When I log in as Joe, I get a couple of menu items that weren't there before. Joe's a distributor, so he's got some other catalog pages that are available to him. Joe also has customer item cross-reference parts, customer contracts. So if he goes over to your parts, this is a real-time read of SyteLine showing everything that's in the customer contract table for Joe as a customer. He can, of course, sit here and go, hey, I'd like to buy one of these. What's my price and what's my delivery date? I'd like that delivered tomorrow. Oh, retail $738. We asked SyteLine for Joe, what is his price for this quantity of bicycles? And it came back with his discount. And it came back and said, we can ship it to him tomorrow. That date, if you're using SyteLine's advanced planning and scheduling engine, that's a real-time call to ATP or CTP to determine when we can ship that product. And of course, Joe can throw that into his shopping cart. So back on his shopping cart, now that he's logged in, there's the 3 items we've placed. So one of those frame assemblies was already in my shopping cart. And when I logged in, it found it for me. Then if I wanted to, I could quickly add additional parts. I come in here and say, well, I need a 908 gear, and I need 25 of those. And I could just add it to the cart, or I could check price and availability. Oh, I don't even have pricing on that gear. Let's pick something I've got pricing with. How about a CP 10,000? Padded seat, check price and availability. That looks good. Let's throw that on my cart. So I've got my cart and I go to checkout. At this point, we want to know where the shipping is going to go. These are the ship to addresses from CSI. Joe can add a new ship to address on the fly. When he does so, it will write it back to CSI for him, or he can just pick an existing ship to. And then we did shipping calculations. These are his 3 options. He gets free ground shipping because his order is over $100, or he can pay for 2-day or next day, or he can use his own shipping number. He can put in his own UPS number. We'll pass that to the customer order, and we're going to ship prepaid to Joe instead of, well, I should say that's called prepaid collect to Joe instead of us paying for the shipment. But let's give him free ground. And then, because he's a B2B customer, we went and checked his credit. Does he have enough credit limit to handle this $2,100 order? Is he on credit hold? He passes those tests so he can buy with a purchase order, put in a purchase order number, upload the document if he wants to, or he could still pay for this with a credit card. So these are the cards we have on file. He may want to add a new card on the fly. In doing so, we open a frame to the credit card gateway, and Joe is putting the credit card information directly into the credit card gateway in the cloud, not through your site. But let's pick an existing credit card for Joe and give him a CVV number and go next. So then he's got his final chance to review his order. We've calculated taxes for him. His shipping was free. He agrees to his terms and checks out. Under the cover, the order is passed to SyteLine. This is the SyteLine order number. Same number in SyteLine as it is on the storefront. Joe can always go in and look at his account. He can view his order history. He can see the orders he placed, including the one we just placed a moment ago. He can open that order up. He can see the line items of the order, and as the order gets shipped, Joe will see down here the shipping transactions and tracking numbers for that order. With one click, he can reorder this order, copying everything on this order to the checkout, or he can move this order into a wish list and play with it over there. Let's go back to his account. A couple other things that are nice over here is the agent management. I mentioned that there can be multiple buyers for Joe's store. So here's Joe, he's the administrator, and then there's Mary. Joe could add an agent on the fly, or he can modify Mary's security, decide what things Mary's allowed to do or not do during the course of interaction with your website. On this side are some of the reports that we've built, and you can build more reports. It's fairly straightforward. So if Joe wants to see not only his orders, maybe he wants to see every line item he ever purchased. So now he can see every single item. Now this is a full read of SyteLine. This is every order that he's purchased, whether he did it through the storefront or he did it through a CSR at the back office. On any one of these orders, Joe can look at the detail of any one of these line items to see when it got shipped, how many were shipped. What is shown here is totally under your control. Do you want to show all of these fields? What do you want the labels of the fields to be? What order would you like them to show in? It's all controllable by you. And I mentioned the ability, let's close that, go back here, the ability for Joe to look at and pay invoices. So he can see here he's got 2 open invoices for these amounts. You can see I want to pay this invoice, proceed to payment, put in his credit card information, and then we're going to go capture funds. So I didn't put a CVV number in. So this is what he's about to pay. If he hits agree and pay invoice, we'll do a real-time capture of funds for the amount of that invoice, and we will place that payment transaction into the CSI SyteLine accounts receivable as a payment against that invoice. You never need to touch it. Then over on the SyteLine side, let's filter for customer orders that were entered today. There should just be the one. So there's the order that Joe entered on the website. It's passed over to CSI. The same order number, and under the general tab, it shows us that it was taken by the web. So we know this came in through the storefront. The person who entered the order on the web is shown as the contact. So if it was Joe, or if it was one of your sales reps entering the order for Joe, then it would be the sales rep's name, not Joe's name. Of course, the line items of the order have been passed through with their values and quantities on top. So that's a quick look at what the product looks like. At a high level, these integration points. So you can see we fully integrated with iShop. Somebody wanted to ask a question?
Yes, there is a question that came up,
Uh-huh.
which was, have you looked at the potential for reluctance to order online in the business-to-business environment due to the fact that most businesses are required to create a purchase order in their ERP system, thus causing double entry if they're going to then place the order online?
Great question. And of course, that happens. Some of you have larger customers and they're just going to send you EDI. They're not even going to call you up. You'll just get an automated output from the ERP system. And this is not meant to replace that. Those large customers, they're going to continue to use EDI or perhaps just send you a purchase order. Where this really comes into play that we're seeing is smaller customers, customers who have rush orders, customers who are working on the weekend and need to get an order into you for Monday shipment, especially when you're selling spare parts and consumables. So we're not doing away with those other issues. However, one of the things we've seen several customers do that we think is clever is when they bring the site up, they'll issue customers a coupon saying, we'll give you 5% off or whatever you'd like, 5% off your first order with our storefront. Please try our storefront. Well, that 5% can be enough impetus to get the customer to try to use your storefront. And once they see how easy it is to use and how quick it is to use, hopefully they'll come back again and again.
Good, and we have several more.
Okay.
What if you have UATs on the customer order lines? Can those fields show up and require input within iShop?
Not out of the box. We've done that for certain customers, but it would be a customization to iShop.
Good. And then another one, which is when a business customer uploads a PO, where does it go?
Oh, great question. So we originally wanted to place it into a file server somewhere on the system or into a binary large object within SyteLine. And basically we're told not to. So we email it. That purchase order attachment gets emailed to a CSR address that you define. So it's going to arrive as an email referencing the customer order. And then from the SyteLine user interface at the back office, you can drag and drop that into DocTrack or upload it to a file server and link it through Notes or drag and drop it into Infor document management.
Good. Is there a place for customers to enter notes along with the items?
Excellent question. And the answer is yes. And I was remiss in not showing that, but let's pop back here just briefly. So if I build another cart, let's just throw some item into my shopping cart. Let's pick another bike. Let's say I want to buy one of these and add that to my cart. And then pop over to my cart. Right here at the shopping cart header, there's the ability to add a note. And this would be what would come across into SyteLine as a SyteLine header note for that, a system object note for the order header. Or at each line item, there is also a note. The customer can add a note by line item or for the overall order. Next question.
Maybe you indicated this, but can you restrict what parts or products a customer sees by their login? Maybe restricting to what there is for a customer contact.
You absolutely can. You can restrict all the way down to the SKU, to the individual part number. You can restrict that level. You can restrict product groups. You can restrict pages of your website. So once a customer has been identified, you set up a role, or if you will, a security group for the customer. The default, basically B2C. They're going to just see what anybody else can see. But if you want to set them up as a distributor or a government agency, and thus they can only see the pages assigned to them, customers can also have multiple security roles. So I may say a customer is both a government agency and a medical agency, and now they can see both those restricted areas.
Great. Is there an administrative internal employee experience? Specifically, is there analytics or reporting available? Who is ordering, order line counts, order dollar value, promo tracking, etc.?
The answer is yes. And I just went over to, let's go here because I have to log in again. Let's see, this password is that. So I'm in the back end now, the administrative end of the system, and we do track some of the store availability figures here, and you can drill into these to see detail. If you're hooked up to Google Analytics, back up here. If you're hooked up to Google Analytics, you can have Google Graphs show in the same screen. I am not hooked up, so I can't turn that on. So at the highest level, certainly you can see this information of the store and anything Google gives you. Keep in mind, of course, that orders themselves are being passed to CSI SyteLine, so you're going to be able to use SyteLine's analytics as well on the orders that you're receiving from the store.
Great. Next question, can iShop work in conjunction with EDI or replace EDI?
I think that's similar to the earlier question, and this is my personal opinion. I don't really feel that this replaces EDI. If you have a customer who is using EDI, they're going to continue to do it. That's the simplest solution for them. So we don't believe that this replaces EDI at all, but it's more of an adjunct to it. So if the customer has something that they can't EDI or they don't want to, they can certainly log on to the storefront and place that in. But I'm sure you're aware a lot of smaller customers don't have EDI capabilities. So that's where the storefront will start to play.
Okay. Is pricing per customer account or is it site-based?
It is the same pricing algorithm that we use within SyteLine. So that is customer within site. So if you've got this customer set up with a pricing matrix that says whenever they buy from category A they'll get price code Z. That's the same data that's going to be passed to the storefront. So you're going to see the same pricing you would see in SyteLine is what they get in the storefront.
All right. When referencing the integration to CPQ, is that the CPQ that is a module in CSI, or is it the CPQ EQ separate offering from Infor?
Great question. It is the CPQ EQ separate offering from Infor. The module that's inside of SyteLine, we refer to that as the features and options configurator, and that's not integrated with iShop. What we've integrated is the high-end configurator that Infor calls CPQ.
All right. Do you allow multiple currencies and credit cards and orders?
Simple answer is yes. However, what's important to know is within a site, let's go back here so this site of iShop is all going to be in US dollars. I could have another site of iShop that is in a different currency, but the whole site is within the same currency. You're not going to see based on the user login, oh, now I get British sterling and this other guy sees the same site in US dollars. No, the whole site is going to be in one currency, but it could be a foreign currency.
Great. Can an EDI system integrate with iShop so customer who requires EDI can transfer into SyteLine automatically?
Again, it's sort of the same question. However, I'll say this, if the customer wants to use iShop, if they want to go in here and look at stuff and see availability, they could take their EDI order, instead of sending it to you through EDI, they could extract it to a spreadsheet or CSV file, and they could upload it directly here into the shopping cart. And at that point, they can see the availability and pricing. But they wouldn't do both. They wouldn't use iShop and use EDI. It'd be one or the other.
Okay. What if the customer wants the entire order to ship together instead of line?
Oh, great question. He could put, of course, the same due date on every line item of the order. We have not exposed the ship partial flag here on the iShop side. It's assuming the ship complete, but that's by line item. SyteLine itself, to my knowledge, does not have a feature that says the full order must ship together. If you've done that, it's probably been customized to do that. And we could then hook the same feature over to iShop with the customization.
Good. Does iShop support SyteLine 8.03?
It does. This same version of iShop, and this is kind of an unusual thing in our industry, our latest release of iShop supports all versions of SyteLine to 802.11 through SyteLine version 10. You guys know that typically as the SyteLine product moves forward, add-ons also move forward. So if you want the latest version of something, you have to be on the latest version of SyteLine. Well, we at Logic Data decided that that was too onerous. So we have tried to maintain compatibility. We had to draw the line at 802.11. We can't go before that because of versions of SQL Server that we just can't support. But 802.11 and later we support.
Great. Then can a visitor to our company website build a shopping cart as they browse their way through the site, or do they have to first click the link to the iShop storefront to start building a shopping cart from there?
I'm going to make an assumption that you already have a corporate site with a catalog and you'd like to hook that to our shopping cart. We've had, to my knowledge, one customer who has done that. So I would say, yes, we can do that. It's a little bit of customization, but in that customer site, the visitor is browsing the corporate website and the corporate catalog that's already been set up. And as they click things there, we're passing those individual items to our shopping cart. And then when they say they want to check out, we move them over here to the iShop shopping cart and let them go through our checkout process.
All right. Does iShop work with blanket orders in SyteLine CSI?
It does not. Everything in iShop is going to be a regular customer order line. We're not supporting blanket orders.
All right. To have the tracking numbers pushed through to iShop, is the use of pick, pack, ship required, or perhaps a third party like PasteJet?
We support both PasteJet and pick, pack, ship. And then we've had customers not using either. And you're probably aware there's really no good place to put a tracking number if you're not using one of those two things, if you're using regular order entry. So in those cases, we've had the customer add a UET and we grab the UET value and place it on the screens here so that your customer can see the tracking number.
All right. How manual is the catalog maintenance, or is there a relationship with the SyteLine CSI items?
There's a direct relationship with the SyteLine CSI item. However, you still, let me give an example here. Let's pull up one of our bikes. So for the bike, this overview description down here, this is entered in iShop, and the specifications are entered in iShop. The pictures are entered in iShop. The link back to CSI is the item number. So the system knows that that part number is SyteLine's FA20000. What we try to do is to avoid double entry. So there's stuff you have to maintain in SyteLine that you would do just for your manufacturing environment and purchasing and so forth. And then there's completely different things that are required for a website catalog and content management, and those you maintain here in iShop. We do have an upload capability, and we use this typically when we first stand up the system. You may have 5,000 items in iShop with some pictures, maybe from your old website and other descriptions and so forth. We can take those all in mass and upload them into the catalog of the storefront. And then you want to go in and organize your catalog and make sure it's all presenting the way you want it to present. But it's really a two-step path. Set up the item in SyteLine if it's a brand new item, and then continue by going into iShop and setting up the rest of it for marketing purposes. One of those things, for example, is very typically the description of an item you may have in SyteLine is not a good marketing description. So when it comes over here to iShop, you can override that description with how you want it to be marketed, how you want your public to think of that item rather than how you want your manufacturing engineers to think about that item.
Okay. And then due to time constraints, we only have time for one more question, so I'm going to give you this one. Can you tell us about the support Logic Data provides, like SLAs, how issues are reported, etc.?
Certainly. So we have an iShop support team. If you have a support issue, you're free to call directly into the team. There's live human beings waiting for your call, so to speak. Or you can place an email to ishopsupport@logicdata.com, and then we will get back to you on that issue. We don't have guaranteed SLAs, but happy to let you talk to our other customers. We're very responsive. People don't wait for our iShop team. We're pretty on top of it. I only really have a couple more slides. So we touched on this, and I wanted to let everybody know that there is a publicly facing demo version of iShop at this web address that you're free to go in and play around in. That site gets refreshed every night. So if you go in today and place an order and you go tomorrow, you're not going to see the order. It's going to be refreshed. But if you'd like to get some hands-on with this, this is where you can go. And then if you'd like us to go deeper with you, answer some of your other questions, do a personalized product demonstration, please feel free to reach out to us. Probably easiest way is an email to sales@logicdata.com. and one of our sales team will get back to you. I will answer one more question before we part. This question is, do you have a typical implementation plan and time frame? We absolutely do. We have a document that lays out all the implementation steps for the product. Time frames vary slightly depending on how many products you're trying to get into the site and how much branding, if you know your branding and we can just get it done for you. I'm going to say that between 2 and 3 months from the day you sign a contract to the day you bring the site up live is pretty typical. It can be done faster. I think the fastest we've ever seen it done was about 3.5 weeks. But I would say if you think 2 to 3 months, that's probably the right area. So thank you, everybody. I so appreciate you spending this time with us. I wish you well in these interesting times we live in. And please reach out to us if you have any further questions. Have a great day. Bye-bye.